First question for Senator Leach. I'm going to put you both on the defensive here. Senator Leach, since the country was founded, marriage has been between a man and a woman. Unlike Jim Crow laws, this setup doesn't deny people educational opportunities or jobs, and it doesn't threaten their safety. So why change the status quo?
Well, first of all, when you say marriage between a man and a union, marriage has gone through a number of iterations in our society. There was a long period of time when marriage was a commercial transaction. For a long period of time, it was marriage was a union of one woman and one man that her father selected for her. For a while, in many parts of the world, including parts of this country, marriage was a union between one man and several women. Just 40 years ago, in my lifetime, marriage was a union between one man and one woman of the same race. We changed all of those things about marriage, and by doing so, we improved marriage every step of the way, by making it more inclusive, by making it more available to everybody. And so, you know, the idea that marriage is some immutable thing that we can't ever change, the fact is that there are traditions in this country, some are good and some are bad. A wise nation knows what the difference is and when to change a bad tradition. Jim Crow is a tradition, and the ban on interracial marriage was a tradition. And when you say that it doesn't hurt anybody, it doesn't deny them a job or some of the other things, either did the anti-miscegenation laws, which prevented black and white people from marrying. But marriage does deny the inability of gay people to get married does deny them an awful lot of things. And I think Maggie, again, has written eloquently about this. When she writes that marriage, why people are married are happier, healthier, and live longer, that tautologically implies that people who are not married are not as happy, not as healthy, and do not live as long. These seems like pretty serious consequences. And again, if we're going to inflict those consequences on the gay community, there has to be some compelling reason. The way the Supreme Court and the courts look at discrimination in this country is you can only justify treating people differently depending on the reason you're treating people differently if there's a reason. And if it's a class that's been what they called invidious discrimination, if there's a class that has been the victim of discrimination, which I don't think anyone would deny gay people have been the victim of discrimination in this country, then there's a strict scrutiny standard, which means that there has to be a compelling state interest in treating them differently. And I'm wondering, again, and I'm hoping Maggie can tell me, because I've debated this issue, I've gotten lots of emails, as you can imagine, on this issue, and nobody has yet told me in concrete terms what bad thing we are preventing from telling our gay and lesbian brothers and sisters and sons and daughters that they cannot form the type of families that they want to form, that everyone in this room wants to form. Maggie said this is about bringing male and female together. My wife's here in the audience, Jennifer, today. I can tell you when I met Jennifer, I was extremely enthusiastic about bringing male and female together. There is nothing that I support which undermines marriage at all. I love heterosexual marriage. I'm a participant in a heterosexual marriage, flawed participant in heterosexual marriage. Gay people don't want to undermine marriage. They just want to join marriage. They like marriage exactly as it is.
You've got a minute and a half rebuttal.
I'm sorry. I respond to that? Okay.
Yeah.
The comparison of our marriage laws, I think our marriage tradition is good, and that's why I support it. The comparison of our marriage tradition with laws that were an attempt to repress one race, I think is really, even if you support gay marriage, is really, if you ever go back in history and look seriously what those Jim Crow laws were doing to black people, the comparison is morally, well, I'll just say untenable, but I really think it's outrageous. Now I understand there are people who disagree with me on this, but here's the difference between same-sex marriage. First of all, I don't have time to explain that many of the things he said about the history of marriage are not true. Let's just table that for the moment. But in particular, there was no great tradition of interracial marriage. That was an attempt by the political class to impose on marriage a new requirement as a result of racism. And the difference between interracial marriage and our marriage tradition is this. Laws against interracial marriage were an attempt to keep two races separate so that one race could oppress the other, and that was bad. Marriage is the effort to bring together the two different sexes, male and female, in part so that children can know and be known by and love and be loved by their own mother and father, and that's good. That's the fundamental difference. And some